Okay, so let's try this first problem on this green sheet. So the angle given is, the acute angle given is 61 degrees. And we already said we were given n, which is the opposite side. It's across from the acute angle that's given. We're given the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is always the longest side of a right triangle. It is the side across from the largest angle, which is the right angle. So looking across from the right angle, here is the hypotenuse. So, and then adjacent would be the side that's not labeled. But the two sides that we have information about or that we're concerned with, we're trying to find the opposite, and we're given the hypotenuse. So those are the two we're going to use in our ratio to figure out what trig function to use. So opposite hypotenuse is the sine function. So remember SOHCAHTOA. That will help you remember what trig function to use. So sine of the angle, in this case 61 degrees, equals opposite over hypotenuse. That order is important. So opposite is n, hypotenuse is 12. So it's equivalent to the ratio of n over 12. Your calculator is going to have a value for sine of 61 already stored in it. It knows for any 61 degree right triangle, the ratio of the opposite over hypotenuse is always the same. That ratio is just going to be some value. It'll give it as a decimal, but it could be written as a fraction. And then you have a fraction equivalent to another fraction. So basically what you're doing is using that info to deduce what this side has to be given one of the sides. So sine of 61 equals n over 12. How do I solve this for n? Well, I need to multiply both sides by 12. Since this is a fraction, I'm solving for n, right? So inverse of dividing, which is what a fraction is multiplication. These will cancel. I must do it to both sides to keep my equation balanced. So n is equal to 12 sine of 61. Be careful to put the 12 on the left. If you put it on the right and inside the parentheses on accident, it will multiply before taking the sine of that angle, and it'll give you an incorrect answer. So if you type this into your calculator, you'll get the answer. Well, here's the calculator. So 12 and then sine 61 will give us about 10.495. If we're going to round this, notice the 5 is going to make the 9 round up, which will make it a 10, which will make this a 10.5. 10.5. So even if you round to the 10th or the 100th place, it's still going to be 10.5 or 10.50. So this one will be approximately 10.5, approximately because I rounded 6.5, and don't forget your units, centimeters. And just as a double check, this is the hypotenuse, 12 centimeters. That's our longest side always. So if we got an answer here that was longer than 12, we would know we did something wrong because it can't be. It's one of the two legs which are shorter than the hypotenuse. So it looks like our answer is reasonable, and then we'll move on to the next problem.